get ready to begin, the superintendent will begin with an opening statement. There will be two other speakers here at this meeting briefing. Following the opening statement, then they will open it up for Q&A, and they will answer all of your questions and answers, all of your questions. As I mentioned earlier, their comments will be focused on what's happening at the school and in the community. They will not be able to comment on what's going on from a law enforcement perspective. Thank you for your understanding.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. I recognize that this has been an extraordinary, difficult couple of days for everyone involved. We have students and staff who have been directly affected, whether they were in the building yesterday, on the way to school, or connected to the district in any way. There are undoubtedly thousands more who were shocked and saddened when they heard the news. Here's what I want you to know. At Perry Community Schools, we are committed to taking care of our students. We are focused on supporting those who have been affected and focusing on healing for everyone in our community going forward. I'm Clark Wicks, proud superintendent of Perry Community Schools. I'm joined by Mayor Dirk Kavanaugh and Stacy Warren, a clinical social worker for the Heartland Area Education Association. We're going to talk about a couple of things up here. I want to give you some information about our plans for the school district in the near future. We're going to speak about some of the ways our district and AA are coming together to support our students and community, and we have been overwhelmed by the goodwill of many people across the state. We will speak about ways that people can help. As we focus on supporting our students and faculty, the most important question we have to answer is when school will open again. There will be no classes for high school students. No classes for high school students all next week. I'm going to repeat that. There will be no classes for high school students all next week. Elementary and middle school students will not return to school until next Friday at the earliest. If there are any changes, we will share with parents and guardians and on our school website. Although school will be closed, we're offering a grab-and-go lunch service at Perry Elementary School each day from 11 to 12:30. This is an important one, so I'm going to read it again. Although school will be closed, we're offering a grab-and-go lunch at Perry Elementary School each day from 11 to 12:30. In closing, again, on behalf of our school district, I want to thank you for being here. Stacey?
Hello, my name is Stacy Warren. I'm a clinical social worker with the Heartland AEA. Perry School District is one of the districts that Heartland supports. We have been working with Clark and his team, community providers, community mental health providers, local law enforcement, emergency management, CISM staff, to be able to come together to provide some emotional and crisis response following this event. So yesterday we started at the community center. We met with staff and students, primarily staff that were in the buildings are affected, and then we worked on devising a plan for what does our triage look like. What are we going to do today, and then what does that acute care and then long-term care look like to support the school staff and students, families, and community. So today we met with we started the day by Superintendent Wicks started the day by an address to all of the staff. We talked about what our agenda and what moving forward would look like and how we were going to provide support. So we had a team of critical incident stress management professionals. That's a national certification and training, generally meant for law enforcement officers, but that was applied for our staff today because they had been witness to a traumatic event or had been experienced that. So we had the CISM faculty, staff from the state of Iowa come in and help provide that support. Teachers and staff reported that they felt very supported by being able to have opportunity to have access to that resource. From 10 to 3 today, there were about 80 staff that attended the stress management debrief. Then from 10 to 3 today, we worked with local community mental health providers and the crisis advocacy team, and we provided for staff and students some grief response. We have some materials and resources that we'll continue to provide. One thing that we really want to talk about is for parents. Parents, if you have students at home that are worried about the event, about how they're feeling, you're not sure what to expect from your child, I want you to really think about what is their typical behavior like. If you see a behavioral change, make sure you're checking in with them. Check with them frequently and often. You may have students that look really stoic and they're not having they're not crying or they're not talking about it. People grieve and respond to grief differently. What we really want to make sure that you're paying attention to is if there's any behavioral changes. Make sure you're checking on your students. There are lots of referral sources that we can get you to get additional short and long-term care. Mayor.
Hello, I'm Dirk Kavanaugh, Mayor of Perry. Just want to say that we are deeply appreciative of the law enforcement, the first responders from Perry, and the hundreds of others that came from all across the state. They had a rapid and highly coordinated manner in which they responded, and it really contributed to this not being a worse incident than what it was. So thank you to all. I want to mention that Iowans are generous and supportive in times of need. We've had many calls today from people wanting to help any way they can. So there has been a fund set up at the Raccoon Valley Bank for monetary donations under the Perry Schools. And if you are interested in making other types of donations other than monetary donations, please email Joyce Scott at joyce.scott@g.perry.k12.ia.us. And she will try to help you out and let you know what you can do to help us out in this matter. So thank you very much.
Superintendent Jesse
Yes.
with NBC Nightly News. Thanks for doing this. First of all, just
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you. First question for you. I have 2 questions for you. But first, can you just clarify the spelling or the pronunciation of the name of the 11-year-old student whose life was lost? I'm so sorry for your community loss.
Yeah, appreciate that question, and we're concerned about every kid. I'm not going to do specific spellings of any student.
Okay, so you can't give us
No.
the pronunciation of the name?
No.
Okay, and then the other question I have for you is, a student tells me that well before this incident yesterday, they brought to your district information about Dylan Butler discussing getting in a shootout with police. Curious what your district did with that information.
I do not know that information. That is news to me, what you're sharing right there. So, no comment. That would be more of the law enforcement.
Well, I'm
That
asking
was
about
not-
school discipline. I'm not asking about this incident. I'm not asking about school discipline regarding Dylan Butler in recent years.
Yeah. Again, appreciate your question, but I'm not going to get into specific names and specific incidences with any individuals during this time.
And you can't tell us anything about Dylan Butler's
You were going to
disciplinary
ask 2
history.
questions, and that
I
was
just want to clarify that
That's
you
right.
can't say anything about his disciplinary
Correct.
past.
Superintendent, can you tell us a little bit about the safety protocols ahead of this incident to try and prevent stuff like
You bet.
this?
Well, we have been discussing our safety protocols for quite some time. And we practice the ALICE training, which is specific training for shooters that could come into a building or a shooting incident. So one of the things that we feel very good about after being in this situation is that our kids, our staff, our administrators did a tremendous job of getting out of the building in a very, very quick way. So I feel that our practice, our teaching, our learning on the ALICE training, if there is a shooting incident, helped us tremendously.
Question about reports of bullying specific to the shooter. Can you comment on that, or were you aware of that at all?
No, I'm not going to comment on individual cases, but I want to say that, like I said, in my first comments, we care about every kid. We take every bullying situation seriously. And our goal is to always have that safe and inviting atmosphere. But I'm not going to comment on this individual case as well as any other individual case.
Can you also update us on the students who were injured? What is the current condition, if you can share that?
Again, that would be from our law enforcement, and I do not know the exact conditions for those kids. Okay? Question?
You spoke about mental health resources that you're giving out specifically today at the library. How long are you extending those resources for student and staff?
Well, this is our second day. Yesterday, of course, was the horrific incident. So today we started, as Stacy alluded to, with the staff. This afternoon we had from 10 to 3 for students and families, and then we're going to have that same service available tomorrow, 10 to 3. And then we've also talked about this for down the road. Not only tomorrow, but then next week and the week following. We realize that everybody handles a traumatic experience at different rates and at different ways. So we want to be very cognizant of that, and working with the AEA and Stacy and her team, we're going to provide, again, anything we can do to help students transition into school for teaching and learning. So we want to continue that. For specifics, tomorrow, 10 o'clock, 3 o'clock, Perry Public Library.
And just to follow on that, how well attended are those thus far?
I was told 213 is who we served for today,
213 students.
and 80 staff with a CISM.
So the staff was from 8 o'clock to 9:30, 10 o'clock to 3 was the 213, right? Okay?
Thank you.
All right, yes.
Superintendent, the 7 people injured, are you able to consider those all related to gunshot wounds, or are some of those injuries people running away from the scene?
Yeah, again, not avoiding any questions, but I've been directed very specifically with law enforcement that when it's a law enforcement question or information, that's for those guys to answer, and I do not have the authority to do that.
And follow up specific to the school, just the thinking behind having the elementary and middle school start on a separate day from the high school, I guess.
Yep.
What went into that thinking?
Yep, good question. That one I can't answer, all right? The elementary school is in good shape. Middle school is in good shape. There is some damage to the high school, and that's going to take some time to clean and repair. So we want and are committed to having that school look like it did 2 weeks ago. And we want the students to be able to come in here and see that it looks like Perry High School.
So more about the physical appearance of the school as opposed to, I guess, kind of where different students are at.
That is correct.
And you said, so next Friday, middle school and elementary at the earliest.
Correct?
Next.
No, and then no school for Perry High School. And then we're going to have to assess the progress of cleaning, repairing, and we're also going to keep one other thing in mind, and that's the mental health of our students. And we're going to try to hit that sweet spot between the mental health of our students and staff, as well as the need for kids to come to school and parents' needs. So we'll be working closely with that, but that's exactly right.
Is it pretty contained to one area of the school in terms of some of the cleanup that you mentioned?
I just am going to say that there are various repairs and cleaning that we need to do.
How would this have played out without Principal
You said we got a hand up over here.
How would this have played out without Principal Marburger?
Well, again, you're getting into the law enforcement part of it, but I can say this. Mr. Marburger, he was a hero. And I know that it helped. The way that he approached that situation, and it saved some lives. But I'll also say this, not only with Mr. Marburger, but we had Mr. Snowden, associate principal. He did some actions that also saved lives. We hate to see anybody injured, and for sure, any deaths. But because of the heroic things that they have done, we had some deaths, 2 deaths, but we're very proud of the way they handled it. They're heroes, along with Mr. Benke, Mr. Jessen. They were heroes, as well as our students. I know we had another staff member, Mrs. Steele, that helped another student get out. So we have some great heroes, not only for our administration and adults, but wow, did the kids do a fantastic job of getting out there, doing what we've been trained to do on whoever question that was. All right? Yeah.
Just one more thing, I just want to clarify that
Yep.
the DPS did publish the name of the student if he was injured, and just out of respect for him, are you able to provide us the pronouncer so that we get that correct?
I am not, and I'm just not going to deal with any specifics with any of the students. Again, I know what I'm authorized to do. I want to stay in my lane. I want to be respectful to the process. Sheriff Department, Dallas County Sheriff would be who I'd be contacting with that.
So Ken Wicks, as the leader of the school district, from the moment this tragedy unfolded to where we are today, how have you processed these events and how to move forward as well?
That's a big question. We have, first of all, yesterday, we wanted to make sure everybody was safe. Okay? First and foremost. Second thing, we wanted to make sure after that, after meeting with a number of different agencies, both law enforcement, AEA, the city, now we have to look at the healing part. So we started with the safety, which I've already spoken to, the heroic moves that the students and staff have made. The second part of that is healing. And with that, Stacy spoke to that, serving 80 of our staff members who, by the way, came out of those meetings saying, what a difference maker this has been. Serving 213 students and families. So the healing process will continue. And the final thing with that is that we want to, through that process, bring hope for every single family.
My follow-up to that
Folks, we're
would
going to
be,
wrap it up. You
Right
have
here.
more questions, and then we're going to wrap up.
Right here,
We got one right?
Perry's making global headlines. What do you think is important for people to know about this community and the school?
Number one, we have tremendous support for the schools, for the students, from our community in a number of places. We have resilient people, and we're going to provide a safe and inviting atmosphere like we have been each and every day up to this point, and we're going to continue to work extremely hard to do that. So we're proud to be a Blue Jay. We're proud of the resiliency, and we're going to be taking this challenge on and keeping the students' needs in mind as well as the staff.
just a follow-up question right here. Wondering if the school district is going to implement any new security measures or different strategies to help prevent something like this from happening down the road.
We'll always analyze and assess exactly what happened. Is there anything else that we could have done? One thing that we just talked about this morning was to have an increased law enforcement presence at each of the buildings. As the governor said earlier, she would be providing any of the resources needed to make sure the Perry schools was back on the road to success. So that I know is one. After that, we need to continue now. The discussions after the healing is to go forward and assess how can we be the most successful that we can, and we're going to get some information from law enforcement. Okay?
Mr. Wicks, I was just wondering if you could provide some context and clarity on, I know it was the first day back from winter vacation, what kids were doing is very early. Was there band practice? Were kids coming in for breakfast? I know, or were they just the ones that were there early, you know, kind of getting in?
Yeah, students start coming in to breakfast around 7:30. 7:25. So there were students that were starting to come in for breakfast. A lot of the buses start dropping off about 7:30, 7:35, and so that was the situation there.
And Superintendent, for the talking about security and safety, how important was the SEER system that your school incorporated?
Critical. We hit that Sears button. I think Mr. Snowburn, if I'm not mistaken, the associate principal, went in. That got pressed right away, and I think it was within 7 minutes of getting the button pushed that we had law enforcement there. And soon after that, we had over about 150 law enforcement and ambulance, any kind of service that we needed. So it was critical, and for sure, I think it's still another way that we were able to save lives.
Superintendent,
Yep.
you mentioned some of the heroism. Is there any specific stories or anecdotes that you heard of teachers or students that acted particularly heroic?
Well, if I start getting into specifics and I leave somebody out, I'd like to maybe talk more in general terms, and that is, we had, once everybody got word that there was the shooter, everybody followed our ALICE training to either barricade or move quickly out of harm's reach. Like I mentioned earlier, we had some adults that did some very heroic things. As the process went through, saving kids from coming in, delaying the shooter, to ushering other kids that were maybe struggling. We had Mr. Justin, the middle school associate principal, that carried a wounded student into a safe area. So it's a situation where if you want to be with a great team, that's what we have.
Superintendent, on the mental health side of things,
Yep.
preventive protocols to intervene ahead of situations where the Dillon Butlers don't end up doing this. What did you guys have in place?
Well, we have an extensive service at each level: high school, middle school, elementary. Also, as we partner with the AEA, we have so many protocols and services for at-risk students that in our ratio with guidance counselors to students is very low. So we feel that those students that ever need help with their mental health, they're able to get it in a very, very short amount of time. So again, if we feel that there's things that we cannot meet the needs, we have a number of avenues that we reach out to and organizations. So if people need help, we can get them help.
All righty. All right, I think we're going to wrap things up. We want to thank you all. You should have received a news release in your inbox. If you did not receive that news release, please connect with Ann and she will get you a copy